now in the 12,000 block of Mount Sharon Road over here behind us. When officers arrived on the roadway near this particular home where the address was given for officers to go, there was a person walking down the street. Due to the nature of the call and the shots being fired, and it's 12:30 in the morning, they had enough to at least stop and talk to this individual. This individual very momentarily feigned somewhat of compliance with our officers, put his hands up as if he was going to engage in a conversation with him, and as soon as he did that, he took off running. Right after that, well, let me back up. He ran and actually ran into a home nearby, about 2 to 3 houses down from the actual address we were given. We subsequently learned after getting a perimeter on that home where he went to that the original home we were sent to had 2 deceased individuals in that home. Since that time, and us just now getting this individual into custody, and we can go into how we did that with our tactical operations and our SWAT team. We are now just being able to process that crime scene to maybe give a little more detail as to how these individuals were deceased, and a little bit more about the background to this whole situation.
Could you tell us what finally led to the suspect being in custody? I think I missed that part.
Yeah, so when our officers initially engaged with this individual and he ran from them, he barricaded himself in this home, and of course several hours went by. There's a lot that we had to take in. We had 2 deceased individuals and a shots fired call that we were having to take into consideration. We wanted to understand whose home was he in that he ran into. Was anybody else in there with him? And we were able to do that over that period of time. We wanted, first off, our officers to be safe and the neighbors to be safe, and we let everyone know what was going on and gave them an option to help them evacuate from their home or stay. Everyone chose to stay in their homes in that immediate surrounding area. Over the course of time, up until this morning when we got him in custody, we had to very tactically try to figure out how to get to him inside this home. We wound up breaching at least 2 points of entry. Our SWAT team did that, and we did notice that he had moved around in different areas of the home when that occurred. Subsequently, when we just got him into custody, we actually were able to create an entry point in the roof where he was hiding in the attic. As you can imagine, that is a tactical nightmare to get somebody who could be possibly a suspect in a crime when you have 2 deceased people. We don't want to put our officers inside the home right away. So it took a little bit of discussion and tactical awareness, and like I said, we wanted our officers to be safe, and we wanted to end this as safely as possible.
I guess, so my main question is, did you guys get him, or did he surrender himself?
Through this last event where we created an entry point in the roof is how we got him out. He demonstrated throughout the course up until he was actually taken in custody that he was refusing to cooperate with us or come out. That's why we had to take all the steps that we did. So we actually had to go get him.
You all at one point did manage to get like a cell phone in the house, but you all were not able to talk to him at any point in time during this morning?
Correct. You know, other than those instances where we were trying to make entry points into the home where he had locked those doors, we also did a few other things, one of which was with our negotiations team throwing a phone in and giving him an opportunity to talk to us. There was a loudspeaker with our SWAT vehicle that they were using to talk to him, and he refused to get that phone, but that phone was made available to him.
What would you say about the work of the officers today? You mentioned the challenge of keeping them safe and keeping the neighborhood safe. What would you say about their work as they make this today?
It just goes without saying that training played a major role in today's events. Our street officers that work shift every day train very hard on perimeter security in these particular situations, and not just that, but our SWAT team and being patient. You got to understand that not only did we have a right to detain this guy, but this individual had not shown any propensity to be violent towards us yet. Okay, so we had to be careful with that. He did not fire shots at us. We still had to believe that he may have had weapons in that home or a weapon still on him. You know, he ran from us, and he ran from a possible situation or being involved in a situation when there was 2 deceased people, so we had to be careful with that. But he did not show us any of those assaultive cues that we would see. So that's why we took our time and took the measures we did tactically to get him out of the house.
Can we get a description of the suspect in custody?
I can't do that right now. Again, as you can imagine, we've had to forego a lot of our investigative processes until we can get him into custody. We can identify him maybe later on today and talk about those victims a little bit and what we found so far. Right now, we got to get our crime scene in there to start processing a possible crime scene, and our major crimes investigator has to interview this individual and probably interview some neighbors.
To your knowledge right now, or maybe you can't tell us, did they find a gun with the suspect inside the house?
Can't go into that right now. I will tell you there is evidence of a shooting, but we're not going to go into how these individuals actually died just yet. We can get into that after crime scene processes the crime scene.
So to be clear, the suspect was in the house with those two dead individuals?
No. When our officers were called to a particular house for a shots fired call, they saw him in the street and he ran. He ran into a different home, which was his. So we actually got him in his home that was a few houses down from the original address of the call.
Now that he's in custody, we did kind of talk about how they have had HPD has had previous calls to this neighborhood.
Right.
Do we know if that was yesterday or 2 days ago?
Yeah, I can't go into a lot about that, but I can say the prior 48 hours, there were some calls of a low-level nature that involved that individual. Nothing that definitely rose to what we would believe a reaction deserving of today. They were routine type calls that we get across the city, so there was nothing unusual about it. But we just wanted to explain that there was a little bit of a history with that individual and those two addresses.
And is the person in custody, is he the suspected killer?
It is a person of interest for the crime scene that we have.
Person of interest. I have another question. Is he injured?
I can't answer that. When I got you guys together, we had just taken him into custody, and so I can't say. But he was in the attic portion of the house for some time, so I really can't speak on that right now.
Okay. And we don't know how the two victims died, or did they die by gunshot? We haven't.
I can't say right now. We need to get our crime scene in there to process that area and get the coroner in there. We got a lot of work to do. Our goal was the safety of the rest of the community and the officers. Now we've got that done. Now we're going to go into the crime scene portion, and once our investigators are willing to give me some of that information, we can talk about that a little bit later.
Now, this doesn't happen very often. Would you say this went textbook? I know training can only get you so far. What would you say to your men out there?
Just proud of the patience that not only they had, but our command staff that was at the command post, the willingness to wait this out a little bit. Like I said, after he ran from our officers and barricaded himself, there were, like I said, he didn't fire shots out of the house. He didn't have a weapon at the moment that we went to stop. There was just a lot about that. We did not have what we needed to go in there with, brute force to take somebody in custody. So it says a lot to the officers and the training and to the decision-making of our command staff to be patient and get this guy in custody.
Did you just say did he know, did the suspect know the two people, or do we not know that?
Well, based on some calls for service the past 48 hours, that shows that some relationship with, there's a history of somewhat, at least the past 2 days that we're aware of.
I think that's all we needed from you. Thank you so much.
All right.